Let's look today at some test questions so that we can properly adjudicate plays when we get on the court. Let's go. Greetings and welcome back to the Basketball Rules Expert, the show where we take National Federation of High School basketball rules, we lift them off the printed page, breathe life into them, simplify, clarify, and amplify so that we can take the rules with us onto the basketball court where it's most important. Greetings again, everybody. My name is Greg Austin with abetterofficial.com. We craft video to help basketball officials get better. And I've been a high school basketball official here in the San Francisco Bay Area for over a decade. Consider myself to be knowledgeable about the rules of high school basketball, and this show is all about helping you on a journey to becoming a basketball rules expert as well. This show is funded by some tremendous show supporters: Les O'Connor Jr., Julian Strickland, Thomas Burnside, Jay Brown, and Mark Harvey. Much appreciated and much love for all of our show supporters in helping keeping the show going. If you want to support the show, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a link down in the show notes below. Tremendous. All right, let's take a look now at our first test question. Before the contest, both coaches verify that their teams are legally equipped. In the third quarter, A1 is discovered wearing jewelry. A1 is required to leave the game and remove the jewelry. A1 is assessed a technical foul, and the head coach is assessed an indirect technical foul. A, correct, or B, incorrect? Yeah. So we have a situation where during our pregame interaction with the coach, we do the things that are prescribed in the official's manual and say, Coach, are all your players properly equipped? And our coach says, yes, they are. And then we say, will your players play with sportsmanship at all times? And the other things that we cover by rule in that pregame discussion. So has that affirmation by the coach saying my players are legally equipped, has that added some responsibility onto them if it turns out that the players are not legally equipped? And the answer here is no. No, it does not. The coach has no responsibility if a player is illegally equipped by rule. If they are wearing an illegal headband, an illegal arm sleeve, if they are wearing jewelry and it is discovered during the game, that player is directed to leave. Now, if we look at our question here, give me just a second. If we look at our question, A1 is required to leave the game and remove the jewelry. No, they are not. They are required to leave the game. They are not required to remove the jewelry. It will be required that they remove the jewelry if they want to participate. The presence of illegal equipment by a player prevents them from being eligible to play. Once they come into compliance, they are legal by rule. So in this instance, the penalty is never a technical foul in this situation. The player is directed to leave, just as they would be directed to leave if they were bleeding, right? You cannot participate, go to the bench, right? Coach, I need a substitute. There is no technical foul on the player. There is no indirect technical foul on the head coach. Of course, head coaches only receive indirect technical fouls for the behavior of bench personnel. This was a player and not bench personnel. So our correct answer in this scenario is B. This is incorrect. The way that the officials handled that situation. And I'm going there. All right. Feeling good. That transition worked out well. Okay. So understanding rules and restrictions about illegal equipment and understanding what illegal equipment is one of the things, unfortunately, that we are tasked with as basketball officials. We are the fashion police by rule. And obviously, we want to get be able to effectively manage all that stuff, but know how to handle things if we discover, right? I had a collegiate game. Officials are on the players are on the lane lines. One player pulls up her jersey to wipe her face and exposes her belly button ring. And then a couple of plays later on a subsequent free throw, another player did the same thing. So it is what it is. All right. So let's take a look now at our next rules question. A1 fouls B1. It is A1's fifth foul. The official reports the foul and is notified by the scorer that A1 is disqualified. They would be notified that A1 had received their fifth foul. In order, the official properly notifies the coach, the timer to begin the interval, and then the player of the fifth foul. At what point does the player become bench personnel? I go there. And that's just a fundamental concept that we need to know, is when is a player disqualified by rule? Oh, so our possible correct answers are when the player is notified, when the timer is notified to begin the interval for replacement, when the coach is notified, or when the fifth foul is initially reported to the scorer's table. Well, those are our choices, right? This is such a simple concept for us to understand. Player commits their fifth foul. Are they bench personnel? No. The official goes to the table, reports the foul. Are they disqualified by rule? No. The table says, hey, ref, that's 5. Are they disqualified? No. We turn to the coach. Coach, that player has 5 fouls. Boom. Right there. That's the instant that the player is disqualified. Once they are disqualified, they become bench personnel by rule. Once that information is provided to the head coach. So in this situation, our correct answer is C, when the coach is notified. And understanding that is just a simple fundamental concept we need to take with us onto the basketball court, and then we can make a determination, right? So the player received their fifth foul, right? At the spot of the foul, ref, you are, and expletives come out. We assess a technical foul. Have we assessed a technical foul on a player or on bench personnel? Well, subsequently we discovered, well, they've gotten their fifth foul. So they were they bench personnel? No, they were a player. Let's say the game continues, right? We shoot the free throws. The table doesn't notify us that that was the fifth foul, right? And then the game continues. Points are scored. That player scores again, hits a three-pointer, makes a great play, etc. And the visiting book says, hey, wait a minute, and tells the timer, hey, we've got a problem. That player's disqualified. The timer sounds the horn. Hey, ref, that last foul on that player was their fifth foul, right? Were they a player when all those points were scored subsequently? Yes. Yes, they were. When do they become disqualified? When the coach is notified. The play is stopped now. Hey, coach, that player has 5 fouls. And then we do the things, right? Simple concept, one that we could take with us onto the basketball court where it is most important. And that's the objective on our show here, is to help basketball officials take rules with them onto the basketball court. If you find this to be the content that helps you do that, great time to do all the things. Hit like, subscribe, and notify so that you don't miss out on any of our new content. All right, let's move on now to our very next rules question. Neither team has a timeout remaining at the end of regulation, but each will receive an additional timeout for the extra period. When is the soonest that either team may be granted a timeout for the overtime period? A, any time during the intermission prior to the beginning of the extra period. B, after the ball has become live to start the extra period. C, at the conclusion of regulation but prior to the 20-second warning horn. Or D, after the clock has been properly started to begin the extra period. What is our correct answer there? Interesting. So at any time, so what we have here is a situation where teams had exhausted all of their timeouts during regulation. And by rule, we're going to award each of the teams an additional 60-second timeout or a 60-second timeout for the overtime period. Great. Team wants to use that. When can they use that, right? They cannot use it. It's a unique situation, but they cannot use that until the ball becomes live to start the extra period, right? When does the ball become live to start the extra period, right? So the ball would need to be live and the team would need to be eligible to request a timeout, which means they would have to have player control. But of course, when does the ball become live on a jump ball? We need to know that so that we can properly adjudicate plays. If we have a foul that occurs before or after, etc., is the ball live, ball dead? So when does the ball become live on a jump ball? When the ball is released by the tossing official. So we have all right, the ball is tossed. Now teams can use that timeout, but can they? No, there's no team control. There's no player control, right? The ball is tipped, touched, etc. Once team control and player control is on the court, that would be actually the first time that a coach could effectively request that timeout. Right. So this is a unique scenario. It's in a small sliver of the rules. We're going to need this for test questions. This is unlikely to occur in a game, but we need to know how to properly adjudicate the play, and we need to recognize the situation for what it is. So that's a good question to review. And now let's look at another test question. On the release of the ball by the free thrower A1, but prior to the ball contacting the ring, B1 crosses the free throw line and enters the semicircle to box out A1 and illegally displaces A1. The official rules: A, nothing; B, delayed violation and foul on B1; C, delayed violation only on B1; or D, a foul only by B1. Right? So we have the situation. We know that a player, an opponent of the thrower, may not, after the release of a free throw, cross the free throw line prior to the ball contacting the ring. And doing so would be a delayed violation on the opponent of the thrower. We also know that displacing the thrower would constitute a foul. If we have this situation described here, we have both a delayed violation and a foul. Okay, so what the circumstance is for A1's free throws, whether it's the first of 1 and 1, the first of 2, the second of 2, the third of 3, etc., becomes a factor on this play, and whether or not the ball goes in, about how we're going to properly adjudicate the play. But the ruling on the play is B. This is a delayed violation by rule, and it is also a foul by rule, and we will penalize the foul. So whether the team was in the bonus here is going to have a big factor on the play. We've discussed this play in our coverage, our 3-part series on free throw rules and restrictions. If you need a refresher there, there's a link above and in the show notes below. But of course, we're always vulnerable and susceptible as officials of taking a little me time and disconnecting from the game, and sometimes we miss that that free throw violation by the opponent. We never want to miss that displacement. If that displacement rises to the level of a foul, we do not want to miss that ever, right? So in this instance, the correct ruling is a delayed violation by the opponent of the thrower and a foul, which we would subsequently administer penalties for as well. Okay, let's move on now to our next rules question. A1 is dribbling in the backcourt, moving toward the division line. While still in the backcourt, A1 throws a pass that is deflected by B1, who has front court status. The deflected pass goes up in the air, bounces in the backcourt, and is then recovered by A1, who is still in the backcourt. How would we rule on this play? A, once the ball takes on front court status as it did on this play by touching of B1, no Team A player may be the first to touch the ball in the backcourt. B, in order for the ball to take on front court status, it must touch an offensive player. Since the ball never touched an offensive player, the ball has never had front court status, and therefore this cannot be a backcourt violation. C, A1, oh boy. A1 may recover the ball on this play because even though B1 touching the ball gave the ball front court status, the ball bounced in the backcourt, so it once again took on backcourt status, and so A1 was allowed to recover legally. The ball bouncing and taking on backcourt status is essential in this play. Had the ball been caught in the air, it would have been a backcourt violation. Or D, A1 is allowed to catch the ball without penalty, and since the ball took on front court status, a new 10-second count would begin. What is the correct adjudication of this play that has so many words? Wow, I'm exhausted reading that. Let's look at the scenario. Team has team control on the court. In the backcourt, ball is thrown from the backcourt. A defensive player in the front court with front court status contacts the basketball. Does the ball now gain front court status by rule? Yes. Yes, it does. If it touches the front court, if it touches a player with front court status, if it hits an official with front court status, the ball would have gained front court status. Understanding status is critical to officiating the game of basketball. This ball has gained front court status by rule. The ball then bounces in the backcourt and is caught by the player who passed the ball, right? Is this a legal play by rule? Yes, yes it is. If we go back here, our correct answer here is D. A1 is allowed to catch the ball without penalty, and since the ball took on front court status, a new 10-second count would begin. That may not be obvious to us in this scenario, but that is a true statement as well. Obviously, we need to have three elements to have a backcourt violation. And NFHS has tried to fix an erroneous interpretation from a few years ago, tried to fix it by adding language to the rules, to the backcourt rule, which doesn't really affect the fundamental concept of the rule. But the fundamental concept is team must have team control on the court. That means at some point the team had established team control by player control on the court. They may not be the last to touch in the front court and then first to touch in the backcourt. In this scenario, they were not the last to touch in the front court. Cannot be a backcourt violation by rule, but they do have a responsibility as per the 10-second rule of the ball gaining front court status within 10 seconds. And once that is accomplished and the ball goes into the backcourt, they then have a new responsibility for the ball to gain front court status as well. So our answer here, D, helps elevate that concept as well. But in either instance, once that defender touches the ball with front court status and being the last to touch in the front court, the touching by the team in the backcourt, whether the ball had bounced first or was caught, it makes no difference. It is a legal play by rule. All right, let's move on now to another test question. A1 is fouled by B1. It is Team B's sixth foul. A1 is erroneously awarded bonus free throws. During A1's first try, A2 intentionally pushes B1 and a foul is called on A2 as A1's free throw goes into the basket. While reporting the foul on A2, the official is notified that the foul by B1 was only the team's sixth team foul. The official, A, cancels the made free throw by A1 and cancels the foul by A2. Team A is awarded the throw-in at the nearest spot of the foul by B1. B counts the free throw made by A1 and awards the second free throw to A1 with no players along the lane. B1 is then awarded 2 free throws with no players lined up along the lane. Award the ball to Team B for a spot throw-in nearest the foul by A2. C, the official cancels the successful free throw by A1 and awards 2 free throws to B1 with no players lined up, and then awards the ball to Team B for a spot throw-in nearest the foul by A2. Or D, cancels the successful free throw by A1 and awards 2 free throws to B1 with no players lined up along the lane. Award the ball to Team A for a spot throw-in nearest the spot of the foul by B1. What is the correct adjudication of this play? I may have the wrong answer listed here, right? So here's our situation, right? Sixth foul, but erroneously the teams are informed, or the officials are informed, hey ref, bonus, 1-on-1. We line the players up, 1-on-1 free throw. On the first free throw, there is an intentional foul by a teammate of the thrower. It says during the first try, we can assume that the try is in flight. An intentional foul is ruled for the displacement. As the official reports the intentional foul to the table, they are informed, hey ref, remember when we said 1-on-1? We were wrong. That was only the sixth foul. Right? So we have a situation where we have awarded an unmerited free throw and we have some activity during that unmerited free throw. And the question arises, do we cancel that activity related to the foul in this instance? By rule, if it was a common foul scenario, where it was simply a displacement foul and not an intentional foul, as it appears to be on this case play, we would cancel that foul. That foul did not occur because it occurred during an unmerited free throw. But we're not going to cancel technical fouls, intentional fouls, or flagrant fouls that occur during an unmerited free throw. That's really at the heart of this question here. And I have my answer here as C, cancel the successful free throw. If the try was in flight and a foul occurs, we are not canceling that free throw by rule. So I would say our correct answer is B. We count the free throw by A1. We award the second free throw since it was no. Oh, I see. Reading comprehension rears its head. These were unmerited free throws. We are going to cancel the free throw. Excellent, excellent. I got hoisted on my own petard there. We are going to cancel the successful free throw since it was unmerited, and we are going to award 2 free throws to the offended player due to the intentional foul, with the lane cleared, since we are going to resume with a throw-in by the offended team at the spot nearest the intentional foul. Oh, great save. Great save. I came back on that one. Oh, that was fun. That was fun. Yeah, when we have questions on a test scenario that have, there's a lot of comprehension about exactly what is being said in the question, and we're all susceptible to potentially making a mistake. Of course, in testing scenarios, governing bodies want to say, well, does this official know the rules? We need to test them. We want to create questions that test that. Some questions, though, are maybe potentially difficult to decipher for people who don't do well in that scenario, which I did not in that instance. But having said all that, let's move on now to our next test question. A4 is penalized for a technical foul. The coach for Team B tells the official that he or she wants substitute B6 to shoot the free throws for the technical foul. The official does not allow B6 to shoot the free throws, stating that only players who are officially in the game are allowed to shoot. A, is that correct? Or B, is that incorrect? Right? Brings up the fundamental question we have to know as basketball officials is who may attempt technical foul free throws. Any player or eligible substitute, right? A player who'd been disqualified previously in the game is not allowed. A player who is not on the roster, maybe part of bench personnel, is not allowed. A player, any of the players on the court, or an eligible substitute can shoot this free throw by rule. So our correct answer here is B. It is incorrect that the official did not allow a substitute to enter the game and shoot the technical foul free throws. An obvious follow-up question is, well, what if the coach wanted A6 to shoot the first one and A7 to shoot the second one? Maybe they are seniors, this is their final game of the season, or it's little Johnny and Jimmy at the end of the bench, and the coach wants to get them an opportunity to participate in the game and wants to have that occur. That is legal by rule, because if we always understand any player or eligible substitute may attempt each of the free throws. Yeah. Right? So that basic understanding, any player or eligible substitute may shoot technical foul free throws, will serve us well when this situation occurs in our game. All right, let's take a look now at another test question. The clock reads zeros, but the horn ending the fourth quarter has not yet sounded. With Team A behind by 1 point, A1 is shooting the first of a 1-and-1 bonus. B3, who is occupying a lower lane space, raises her foot and it breaks the plane of the lane line prior to the A1's release. Her foot does not touch the floor inside the lane line until after A1's release. What is the correct call? A, an immediate violation by B3, canceling A1's free throw if it had been successful. B, delayed violation on B3 at the moment her foot crossed the plane of the lane line. If the free throw try is unsuccessful, A1 is awarded a substitute free throw. Or C, ignore making a call on a play like this in such a close game with no time showing on the clock. It is best to let the players determine the outcome of the game. Or D, no call, because B3's foot did not touch the court outside her space until after the ball was released. Oh my gosh. Interesting they're putting a basic lane violation question into a wildly unique situation where the clock shows zeros and time has yet to expire, because of course time expires with the horn or the lights if those are available. So we have a situation that is fit it in, but what I guess it's trying to bring up a couple of things. One is the suggestion that ignore this violation because we want to let the players decide the outcome of the game. But when do we have, our correct answer, well, when do we have a violation in this situation? A1 is shooting the first of a 1-on-1 bonus. B3, an opponent of the thrower in the lower lane space, raises her foot and breaks the plane. This is a delayed violation by rule. Depending on the result of the free throw, we would enforce or not. If the ball goes in, we would not enforce a violation. If the ball missed, a substitute free throw would be awarded. So our correct answer in this instance is B, delayed violation on B3 at the moment her foot crossed the plane. That's the other portion of the rule, is it's violating the plane of the marked lane space, not contacting the floor inside the lane. Delayed violation at the moment her foot crossed the plane of the lane line. If the free throw try is unsuccessful, A1 is awarded a substitute free throw. And that would be a true statement by rule. Now, in this situation, in this close end-of-game situations, right, we may, as officials, want to make sure to emphasize, hey, wait till it hits, right, to players in marked lane spaces in a critical moment of the game, right? Having basic fundamental communication techniques there can help us have the game go smoothly, but correctly adjudicating the play is something we need to do as well. All right, let's look now at another rules question. A1 is fouled by B2, and A1 falls to the ground. A1 attempts to punch B2, but misses. What of the following is correct? Oh my goodness. A1 is assessed a flagrant technical foul and is ejected. Any player from Team B could shoot 2 free throws for the flagrant technical foul. Team B gets the ball at the half court opposite the table. A1 must leave the confines of the bench in the playing court before the game can continue. B, A1 is assessed a flagrant technical foul and is ejected. Any player from Team B could shoot 2 free throws for the flagrant technical foul. Team B gets the ball at the half court opposite the table. A1 must stay in the confines of the bench and be supervised by an adult for the remainder of the game. C, since A1's punch missed B2, A1 is assessed a technical foul. Any player from Team B can shoot 2 free throws. Team B gets the ball at the half court opposite the table. A1 is allowed to stay in the game. Or D, A1 is assessed a flagrant personal foul and is ejected. B2 shoots 2 free throws for the flagrant technical foul. Team B gets the ball at half court opposite the table. A1 must stay in the confines of the bench and be supervised by an adult for the remainder of the game. That's a lot of words for a simple scenario. A1 is fouled. They are not appreciating that foul, and they fall to the ground. They attempt a punch, but it misses. What is correct? What do we have in this scenario? We have a player who has a fighting action. Throwing a punch is a fighting action. This occurs during a dead ball, right? Status, live ball, dead ball, etc. This occurs during dead ball. This is a dead ball, flagrant, technical foul for fighting. And we have to identify it as such because in many jurisdictions, that fighting action will lead to subsequent penalties within an association. It may be in a 1-game suspension, 2 games, 3 games, points against them on the season total or something like that. Identifying it as fighting is critical here as well. So that player will be disqualified by rule. They are not ejected. Students are disqualified. Adults are ejected, right? Head coach does something, they are ejected. They must leave the visual confines. A player, even if with a heinous action or they are upset, etc., is disqualified to the bench. That is our role as officials. That player is disqualified to the bench. What happens next related to that player will be based on the determination of the coach and game management, etc. They are not required to leave, right? The officials cannot direct that player to leave. They disqualify the player to the bench. These are the important components of this play that we have to understand as officials. Our correct ruling on the play is A1 is assessed a flagrant technical foul and is disqualified. Any player, obviously, or eligible substitute can shoot 2 free throws for the flagrant technical foul. Team B will get the ball at the division line opposite the table. A1 must stay in the confines of the bench and be supervised by an adult for the remainder of the game. The officials need to disqualify that player to the bench. That's what I will say about that scenario. There are other possibilities that could occur, but that's what we have on that play. This question brings up undisciplined language. We know what you mean at the half court opposite the table, but if we have an opportunity to bring correct rules book language into a ruling on a play, we're better off. At least having the ability to do that is critical. Right? We don't have to always do that, but having the ability to do that, and we would expect that in a rules-based question, that we would have more precise language, but that question is what it is. Let's see what this next question is and what it is. A1 is dribbling the ball in the front court, table side near the 28-foot mark. A2 and B2 are illegally contacting each other on the front court, table side, part of the key. The official calls a double foul on A2 and B2. Ensuing designated spot throw-in will be A, on the sideline near the table side 28-foot mark, B, on the end line near the table side lane line. Oh, those are our two choices. Right? So we have a double foul, right? Double foul. That should immediately bring to mind different aspects that we know related to a double foul. Double foul. If a try is in flight, does the ball become dead? These kind of things. But when we have a double foul, the penalty is a throw-in nearest the spot where the ball was when the double foul occurred. So if the ball was in the backcourt, 2 players in the front court, the resulting throw-in will be at the spot nearest to where the ball was, not to where the foul occurred. Now, this can confuse us. Well, wait a minute. When a foul occurs, the throw-in is at the spot nearest the foul. That's during most instances, but during a double foul, that is not the case. Understanding that distinction is an important thing to know. So our correct answer is sideline near table side 28-foot mark, because that's where the ball was and when the double foul occurred. Right? This would be a great opportunity as a crew to get this play right. Sometimes the calling official, let's say the lead says, hey, I got a double foul end line, right? The crew can say, hey, wait a minute, I think our throw-in spot is up here at the spot nearest where the ball was. Okay. All right. We've got just a couple more. Our penultimate question. Let's go. The coach of Team A wants a timeout for a correctable error. Team A has no more timeouts remaining. The official denies the timeout request by the Team A coach. Is that proper procedure or improper procedure? Right? When a coach has exhausted, and when a team rather has exhausted all of their timeouts, and a request for a timeout is made, what do we do as officials? Like, let's say I had just notified the coach, hey, coach, you're out. 0. No timeouts remaining. Ball comes into play. A player on the court is in distress. It says, ref, timeout, right? Chris Webber play. what is our responsibility? I know they're out of timeouts. Am I to ignore that timeout request? No. By rule and by case play, we are to grant the timeout even knowing that the coach has no timeouts remaining. So in this instance, the coach correctly has available to them the opportunity to request a timeout for a correctable error. This is a unique situation in that they are out of timeouts. Can they make that request? And what would the result be should the corrective error not being determined to have not happened in this situation? And we could talk that through, but our correct answer here is B. This is improper procedure. We should grant the timeout, review the correctable error situation, and make a determination about what happens next. Now, what happens next? If the error is correctable, then we rescind the timeout. But if the error is not correctable, we would grant the timeout. So in this instance, the team would have used an excessive timeout, and in addition to the timeout, there would be a penalty for a team technical foul. In that instance, that's a unique situation, one brought up by this rules question, but not a common scenario that's going to occur in our game all that frequently. All right, we're plowing through. We have one more remaining question. Let's take a look at that question now. A1 has the ball and is about to attempt the first free throw of a 1-on-1 bonus. B1 steps into the lane prior to the release of the attempt. Although the action is unintentional, the distraction causes A1's attempt to miss the ring. How would we administer this play? A, since the act was unintentional, both violations are penalized. Go to the AP arrow to determine which team is entitled to an AP throw-in. B, an air ball takes precedence over a lane violation. Team B gets an end-line throw-in. C, call an unsporting technical foul on B1 for disconcerting the shooter. Or D, since the distraction caused the shooter to shoot an air ball, ignore the violation by A1 and only penalize the delayed violation by B1. What is our correct adjudication on this play, right? So here we have to understand, first of all, it's the first of a 1-on-1, right? And then we need to understand that the opponent violated, and that violation led to the thrower being distracted. So by rule, in this situation, a replacement free throw shall be awarded if the free throw misses. In this instance, not only did the free throw miss, but the violation occurred by the thrower. In the absence of distraction or disconcertion, this would be a simultaneous violation by rule. So if you had, instead of a player unintentionally taking some action on the lane line that caused distraction, instead we had a player who simply had their foot standing, their foot was placed on the lane line. And this is not something that would lead to distraction by the thrower. The thrower violates as well. Simultaneous violation, free throw canceled. Since we don't have a second free throw, we would go to the possession arrow in that instance. But in this instance, where we have distraction ruled by the officials, we would award a replacement free throw. There is no technical foul for distraction. That is not a thing. The penalty is simply awarding a replacement free throw to the player should their first attempt miss. All right, thanks for joining us today on Basketball Rules Expert. If this is the content you find valuable as a basketball official, make sure you do all the things. Hit like, subscribe, and notify so that you don't miss out on any of our new content when it becomes available. Allow me to thank our tremendous show supporters: Les O'Connor Jr., Julian Strickland, Thomas Burnside, Jay Brown, and Mark Harvey. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show, you can always head to abetterofficial.com/coffee. You know I'm going to put a link above and in the show notes below. additional video content here. I've made this selection. YouTube makes this selection. You make your selection. Choose wisely. We'll see you in the very next video. Take care.